So, Mr. Stephen Brown, you're one of the founder members of Agents Together, the charity, and you've done a lot of work around mental health, charities, all sorts of different initiatives aimed, I suppose, to try and open the taboo conversations that we don't necessarily have. Going back to being a founder member of Agents Together, do you feel like at the time it a very radical, just take me through the process of when you were setting up, because people weren't having these sort of mentoring conversations back then, were they?
I think Regents together has been absolutely incredible for the property industry. Um, I think we have got over 500 mentors. I think there's been well over 1,000 mentees. I think over 20,000 hours have been freely given by mentors. And I'm really, really grateful for everybody that's got involved in the industry. Um, your friend and the industry's friend Megan actually posted
Yes.
yesterday on LinkedIn, and she showed her vulnerability. And I think what we're seeing now is, especially with a Women in the State Agency conference as well, there are so many people out there that are really vulnerable. And what you see on the outside and how people feel on the inside are two totally different things. And I think what Agent Together's done has, well, obviously we've got an incredible, inspirational leader there, Sarah, who, is suffering incredibly. And it's really, really hard to see Sarah's journey. It's actually inspiring for her to share, and with her new podcast that's out there as well, just making a difference. So I think being vulnerable, normal is really important. From a personal point of view, I know everybody knows that my wife passed away 3.5 years ago. I personally have been in some very, very dark places. Um, and not that people would be aware of that. I've had therapy, and it is tough. It is very, very hard. And once I started talking to people, a lot of people shared how they were feeling. And I think having well-being, mental health issues, however you describe it, I actually think it's normal. Um, and I think it's really important that people go out and they seek help and they talk about it, because there's a lot of people out there that will listen, will help, will support, whether it's Agents Together. There's loads of other places that you can go to. And again, I think what Megan said, and rightly so yesterday, is, it may not be the first therapist. You've got to find the therapist that works for you. So you may go through quite a few, but three words have helped me: understand, acknowledge, and accept. And they've made a massive, massive difference. So I've got to understand the sound's no longer coming back. I acknowledge it, find it very hard to accept still after 3 years, but I now know she's not coming back. Um, Sadly, her mum passed away at the weekend as well.
Oh,
So again, that brings it all back. But again, really, really important. And I've got some very close family to me that are really, really suffering at the moment with well-being issues and mental health issues. And it is really, really tough, really, really tough. But get
can
the
I
support, get the help, and get the talk and speak to people.
can I ask you what's going to sound like a daft question, but do you think, I mean, you've been working in a state agency for years. I don't even want to embarrass you by saying how many years you've been working in it, but long enough to know better, let's put it that way. Um, it's a high pressured industry. It is one in which can be very often dominated by KPIs, where your value as a human to that business is constantly being reevaluated and you constantly being judged against that metric. And it's tough. It takes some tough going. Um, it's not particularly kind sometimes. It can be confrontational, and it takes an awful lot to keep that sort of smile on your face and to be polite and to keep on going. Do you think that mental health problems were ever so, that people struggled with these issues silently for years, and we've just made it more acceptable to talk about them? Or do you feel like some people feel that this is perhaps a symptom of that post-pandemic era where we've got different focuses?
I think post-COVID, I think especially for people, so I think our kids who went through it, they've never experienced anything like that before, and I think a lot of them have come out and they're really, really suffering from what I'm seeing. My own kids, friends' kids, they're really, really struggling. I think there were a highly stressed, really, really stressed. And then also, I was from a generation where you got to man up. So if there was something wrong, what's the matter with you? You know, get over it. And that happened in with one of my members of my family. He had loads of well-being challenges, um, and I didn't get it. I really didn't get it. Um, and who had to come out of school. He had to be reintegrated into school, and he got loads of help. And it was only then that I started to understand actually what the challenge is and what the issue is. But before it's like, come on, what's the matter with you? So, now I'm far more understanding of people's wellness. And you mentioned the word kindness. And I think kindness is really, really important. And everybody was incredibly kind in COVID. People will go and help and get prescriptions and whatever. And yet that kindness now has gone away. And, you don't see that, and estate agents do an incredible job and letting agents do an incredible job, and they make a difference. But I don't think the consumer actually understands what estate agents and what letting agents actually do. Um, and I think one of the things that would help is for the whole industry to most probably share what they actually do to the public. So then the public, if they have a better understanding of what they do, and it's not just put a property on portal, you know, they will be kinder because they realise how hard it is and what they do. And I think we need to educate the consumer a lot more what we do. I think agents do an incredible job. It is really stressful. It is really hard. It is a roller coaster. Because you're right, some may be on personal commission, some may have big KPIs to meet. So it is very, very stressful. Um, at the moment, I think a lot of agents are most probably suffering with cash flow. They've got a lot of constipated pipelines.
Yeah.
So, it's difficult for money to come through. So it is tough. And I think a lot of business leaders, and not just business leaders, but colleagues on the ground are stressed, and as company owners need to be thinking about ways of, taking that stress away, with where it's, maybe in fact, my girlfriend's daughter's just joined the company. They get 2 wellness days off, I think, a year.
It's
Mental health and stuff like that. So, there's companies are evolving and changing and adapting, and understanding, which I think is great to see, because I think there is sadly a real issue out there, especially when I go to the conferences and I hear the vulnerability, and then after, one particular conference recently, somebody ran after me and had a whole conversation with me about what was going on. I don't think that would ever have happened before if people weren't vulnerable. But also, they feel freer to talk, and I think that's the important thing. Talking, you know,
so, I
don't
think
keep
I
it
think
in.
that's one of the biggest changes. I mean, we've been reading the Voice of the Agent survey. And what's really interesting in that is the differences as well between how we all handle mental health, and our approaches to it. And particularly there is a very big disparity between how women handle things. And we can see that at their conferences, that the conferences are much more open. They're much more willing to bare their souls almost in order to give something to that audience, but also to get something back because you're getting some support and you're helping other people along that journey. We as men famously don't talk about mental health until it's absolutely, we're on the brink of doing something silly. That really is where we get to, and it's because we've made it very, you mentioned it before, it's that culture of sort of walk it off, or you'll get over it, be a big boy. It's expected that you're always going to be that strong leader and just be able to plow through it. But the truth is that the people that you speak to every day, some of them they're struggling with those cash flow issues that you mentioned. They're dealing with other people's mental health as well. They're trying to manage their teams. They're trying to stay positive in many ways, being an agent and certainly if you own an agency, it's the task of trying to be everything to all people. And also your members of staff. When you go home after a hard day, you need to then also be that great parent as well. There's a pressure there, and I just think that these things build and build and build. But particularly with men, we don't talk about it openly enough. You're
So
involved with a lot of other initiatives.
yeah, so and look, Ben Madden, Fine and Country, started a gentleman's club. I don't know, we had one Zoom meeting. I can't remember the amount of people on there. But straight after I received a call from somebody um, who was suffering. And that's just one person. So again, I know when I started to be telling gentlemen how I was feeling, and they said to me, "Do you know what? I've had the same feelings. I've had those dark thoughts." And some of the stories that people told me at the stages where they were and what they were looking to do and almost did to themselves, like, won't swear. It's like, oh my good God. But, but that particular person's got through it. Other people have got through it. And one of the techniques that I've learned that's helped me was something called what's the evidence? So, if you are feeling really down, if you've had a really bad day, if you've had real bad disappointments, whatever it is, if you're really struggling to get through something, ask yourself, if have you been in that situation before? And if yes, you got out of it. So that's the evidence that you can get out of it. You've been through it, you've been suffering, it's been really, really challenging, but you managed to get out of it before, so you can get out of it today. So, what were the things that you did last time to get out of it, to get yourself back into a better place? And there's a really good book, a guy called Paul McGee, and he's written a book, Sumo, Shut Up, Move On. And he talks about having hippo time. So it's fine. It's, to be honest, it's normal. And this is the thing, this is what people I don't think appreciate. It's normal to feel how we feel at times.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. But again, it's victim or survivor. Are you going to be a victim or are you going to be a survivor? And that's our choice, which way. And your mindset, having that growth mindset makes a massive, massive difference. And if I take Sam, Sam got diagnosed with cancer and got told she had a year to live. She was here 4.5 years later. Her oncologist would say, he was eminent. He would travel around the world to all these conferences, and he would say, "I've got this patient. Everybody else on the same treatment is not here. He's here." And the only thing he could put it down to was mindset. You know, if I look at Sarah and her mindset, that wanting to live and enjoy life, you know. So I most probably come at things from a different perspective because of my life and what I've been through. And I know it's a cliche, life's too short. Um, but you have to make time for yourself. You have to make time for your family. You have to be there for the special moments. So your kids' stuff, whether it's, I think sports days are coming up.
Yeah.
You know, don't miss out on those fantastic times. And I get it. I've been there. I know how hard it is, and I missed out on all those things. But the one thing I learned, sadly, from when Sam passed away, or before, 10 years of her having cancer, was make the most of every single day. Enjoy it. because honestly, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So enjoy today, make the most of it. And as we said at the ladies, women in the state agency conference, just fucking do it.
That's almost the final note. That mindset that you talk about. So obviously, I've known you for years, and during that time, whilst you were looking after Sam, and every time I'd see you, I'd ask you how she's doing, and you'd almost talk about being on borrowed time all the time. And sometimes when you're in the thick of it, you don't appreciate till you take a step back and you see how powerful that mindset is. But to talk about having a sort of strong mindset or growth mindset to people who are currently struggling with mental illness, they'll be watching this or listening to this and they'll say, well, it's easy for them to talk about that. It's not that easy for me, because you literally feel like you're drowning sometimes. Um, and that's just the point. That growth mindset, you're not just blessed with it. It takes work. You need to sort of work on it. And I imagine Sam would have had to do that. Sarah's had to do it. It's not just something that you can guarantee, you can guarantee is going to be there in the morning when you come back to it. That kind of self-care and talking to ourselves in a positive manner, and we talked about kindness. The people that we are least kind to are ourselves. But that takes work, doesn't it?
It does take a lot of work, positive self-talk. So, everybody's going to laugh when they hear what I'm going to say next. But don't imagine this, please. But when I was in the shower, I would always used to talk to myself, today's going to be a great day. I feel fantastic. I feel great. I feel brilliant. And the truth of the matter was, it didn't, you know, and, but people don't know that. I go out and I do training. If I'm like moping or whatever, or I'm really, really down, how am I going to give the best training session that these, people have ever had? So I go in with mindset, whoever I'm going to work with that day, they're going to have the best training that they've ever been given. And that's it. And I can give my best and that's it. Likewise, when we're working with, all the customers out there, we make a difference to people's lives, and it's understanding that and we're helping that. But we also, you're 100% right. We've got to be kind to ourselves, and make a difference to ourselves. So if it's a little thing, treat yourself to something. Set yourself, where do you want to go to? Are there any nice holidays you want to go to? And there's loads of stuff out there that's free. You know what? Walking makes a massive
Yeah.
difference. Listening to the birds, listening to nature, um, going to the beach, throwing stones, whatever it is. There's stuff out there that you can do that costs you nothing, that it clears your mind, um, and and it helps. But you have to again coming back, acceptance. You know, accept the fact that some days you're not going to have great days. Acknowledge it, understand
And
that,
that's okay.
um, and it's fine and it's okay. And coming back now, if you're asking how people are, they go fine. They go, okay, how are you really feeling? And then that's where you find out, how people are really feeling. Um, and that's where sometimes people just want to voice, somebody to listen, somebody to have a shoulder to cry on, somebody to kick and punch. But they know that at least they've got somebody out there listening. So you mentioned Agents Together. I know there's the Women in the State Agency got a Facebook group. Hopefully Ben's going to start off this men's Facebook group very soon. So there's going to be safe places, where people can feel comfortable, that they can speak. Um, and again, there's loads of self-help or help groups that you can go to and just speak to, pick up the phone, if you're suffering. I know when I was in a really dark place, I called the helpline twice, um, and I didn't get hold of them. Um, and I called literally the third time I was on hold for half an hour. And then when I told the lady how I was feeling, she said, you need to go and see your doctor now. I said, you know what? It's nigh on impossible to get a doctor's appointment. I got a doctor's appointment. I had a call 5 minutes later. Half an hour later, I was in front of a doctor's.
Yeah.
And they said, "Why are you here? Do you know why you're here?" I said, "Yes, because obviously you don't think I'm going to be here from the conversation that I had with that person." And she said, "Yes." So just talk to people and get that help, because there is a lot of help out there. You know, there's a lot of people in the industry that are willing to help. So, again, if anybody's watching this, if anybody's struggling, you are welcome to call me. I'm happy to happily listen, put you in the right direction.
And
But,
don't,
who
and I
can
think the other
help?
message there is don't leave it too late. If you feel like you're drowning and simple chats aren't helping, you need professional help, and you need to know that it's not a sign of weakness to go, and people aren't going to dismiss you. So don't just, for instance, what you expected to happen with the doctor and what actually happened with the doctor, two completely different things. And there are people out there who are professionally trained to help you, and at some point that's where you go to next. No different to if your arm was hanging off, you'd go straight to a doctor, you go straight to A&E. And I think that's one of the difficulties with mental health is if I asked you what the picture of physical health looks like, you'd probably produce a photo of David Mintz and say that is a physical specimen. This is what but we all know what keeping fit and trim might look like, and we know when somebody looks healthy, and likewise we can also tell when somebody's ill. But with mental health, you can't do that. And if you're constantly comparing yourself to the shiny photos you see on Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook, that's not, that comparison isn't going to make you feel any better. And that's not the barometer of good mental health. And it's something that you need to work on as much as you would do with physical health. So don't leave it too long. I could talk to you about this for hours. I have done already. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for everything that you have done and continue to do for people in the industry and also Agents Together. I think that is the fact that it goes from strength to strength even today, run by these volunteers. It's tremendous, isn't it? Because there's stories everywhere of what I'd call success out of this, and in that people have got. It's not just about mental health; it can be about practical business support as well, can't it?
Oh, 100%. It's made a massive, massive difference to so many people. And, I want to say massive thank you to, the people, the founders that actually started it. So the Bruces, for the people that are the founder members that, are making a massive, massive difference. And actually to every single mentor that's got involved. Because without them, it wouldn't be where it is today. So thank you to everybody, and thank you to all the mentees that want the help. Because if it wasn't for them, there wouldn't be these people volunteering to give out their time. So make use of it. It's a free resource, so make use of it.
Stephen, thank you.
You are welcome.